Hey guys, please like and subscribe. Titties, drum set, John C. Reilly. Step Brothers, Don't Touch It. Will Ferrell, trailer. Funniest scenes. Hey everybody, I had a wild hair up my ass the other day. Decided to go watch Step Brothers after having not seen it in a long time. And the jokes are funny, but I realized upon closer examination, it's actually a really thought-provoking exploration into the human psyche. Also, I want to be clear that when I say psychology, I really mean armchair psychology. I have not seen or read any research study that goes into this topic. So sit back, relax in your cozy chairs, and let's talk about what might drive somebody to still live with their parents in their 40s. Other than being a loser. I'm aware, some people are taking care of their parents at that age. Some people are just living off their parents because they're degenerate losers. Some people have anxiety that's really bad. There's lots of, explanations that fall pretty well within reason, although some of them are jerks. They're not unheard of reasons, But in this movie, the closest thing we get to an explanation as to why these two men live with their parents is that they're both just really immature and kind of dumb. About halfway into the movie, they start seeing a therapist because the father thinks that there's something psychologically or developmentally wrong with them, which does sound like a pretty rational explanation for this. However, it doesn't fit entirely well with the observations we're made to see in the movie. One key point that detracts from this theory is that while neither brother is ever suggested to possess the intelligence or maturity of a full-grown adult, they are both still fully aware that they are adults. And it becomes pretty clear towards the end that they actually are capable of living the life of an adult. They get jobs, they get their own apartment, they file their taxes, they start a business together, and they actually become pretty successful people. And none of the therapy sessions that they're shown to be having seem to really be having an effect on them. One of them actually falls in love with this therapist, and I'm not joking, she actually falls for him too and spends most of the movie pretending she didn't. Which does make the movie funnier, but in real life, a therapist who fell for their patients would actually have to recuse themselves from treating them. At a certain point in the movie, one of the brothers even says that it's actually a lifestyle choice, that there's actually a point later in the movie where they do stop acting like children, and it becomes pretty apparent that they become dead inside as a result of this. The other key factor in this is that there are characters who possess a similar level of immaturity, but act out in different ways through it. Brennan's younger brother is actually the vice president of a successful helicopter leasing agency. He's also very much the same arrogant, self-centered jock that he was in high school, and the banter you see with him and his business partners comes off more of a group of rowdy frat boys than it does anything else. He's also a raging control freak and completely oblivious to the fact that his wife is fucking his stepbrother due to his own extreme arrogance. That same degree of arrogance can actually be seen in the two brothers that still live with their parents, as they constantly convince themselves that they're the most awesome people on the planet. He also continues to get a lot of joy out of teasing and tormenting his brother, similar to a real-life brother relationship. At the very end, however, he does start to come around and start showing his brother more respect. The father actually works as a similar example as well, admitting that he gave up on his dream of being a dinosaur to become a doctor. He even admitted to having an argument with his father, who told him that 17 was too old for him to be playing dinosaur. And while the mother never explicitly says that she has her own not wanting to grow up story, her degree of empathy and understanding for the two stepbrothers does in some degree suggest that either her or her ex-husband were like this at one point. Even when they're applying for jobs and doing interviews, one of the interviews actually tells them that all he's looking for is a couple of guys to goof off and smoke weed with them all day. Their lack of maturity and intelligence doesn't seem to stop them from getting laid either. As I mentioned earlier, one of them is fucking his stepsister-in-law, who admits that she actually resents being married to him, and was really turned on watching him get punched in the face. And the other enters into a pretty serious relationship with his therapist. So, at least in the narrative presented in the movie, their behavior is actually attractive to women. So the overall message of the movie seems to be that nobody ever really loses sight of their childhood immaturity when they become adults. At least, or at the very least, they don't want to. So I guess in a manner of speaking, everybody, no matter how responsible of an adult they are still kind of children. They just don't go as far with it as Dale and Brennan did. It's also very reminiscent of the deep and thought-provoking explorations of a completely unrestrained id that we saw explored through Beavis and Butthead. Similar to Beavis and Butthead, Brennan and Dale never have to face any consequences themselves of any of their actions, no matter what they do. Although they do become very upset when their parents get divorced. And that while ancient philosophers have often postulated that rules of government and law exist because human nature is too savage to go unregulated, as we see in Beavis and Butthead, the narrative of this movie paints the opposite picture. Dale and Brennan's complete disregard for how their actions affect people essentially leads to the betterment of the family. And this is essentially the sort of argument that many economists make with regards to deregulating the marketplace, that greed and selfishness can and often does lead to a stronger, more prosperous economy with more jobs and more resources for people. And in a really strange way, the concept of whether human nature does or does not need to be regulated ties in pretty nicely with the concept they seem to be going for in the movie, where the concept of losing one's childhood essence is equated with the concept of losing one's humanity. There's also a famous quote from philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche where he says, "My favorite scene in Step Brothers is where Brennan rubs his nuts on the drum set and the two fight." No, I'm just joking, dude. Friedrich Nietzsche did not say that, and this movie is not deep. Please don't take this seriously. I gotta admit, though, I do like some of the jokes and the Boats and Hose song.